Story 1: The Haunted Hill House Encounter. For 2 years, there was this pop-up haunted house attraction that would open in October. It was unofficially called Haunted Hill House because someone had set up a cheap-looking sign that seemed like it was bought from a party store, propped up in front by the makeshift parking area. The parking lot was just a patch of grass designated as a parking area. This was the year they shut it down, and it was also the year my friends and I went. I was with Matt, Michael, and Eddie, and we decided to go on a Thursday night, which meant it was less crowded since we all had Fridays off from college. There was surprisingly no line at the ticket stand, and when we found the entrance, only 4 people were waiting ahead of us. What we didn't realize was that they were letting only one person in at a time. We shoved Michael to go first, and I was next to last, right before Eddie. Every few minutes, they let the next person in. When Matt went in ahead of me, I started feeling nervous. I hadn't been to a haunted house since I was a kid with my family. When it was my turn, a woman dressed in a blood-stained costume opened the door and told me to enter. As soon as the door shut behind me, I was in a dimly lit building with flashing lights and creepy, gruesome props of mutilated bodies everywhere. Actors in terrifying costumes would jump out from around corners or through hidden holes in the walls, and they managed to scare me every time. At one point, I was walking down a dark hallway that separated 2 rooms when I felt something brush up on me from behind. I screamed, turning around, only to see a tall figure standing in the darkness. I laughed it off, thinking it was part of the attraction. But then something I didn't expect happened. The actor started pushing me down the dark hallway, where I could barely see. I went along, assuming it was part of the haunted house experience. After a few moments, he stopped, and I heard a door close, leaving me in total silence. At first, I thought it was just another part of the experience, so I didn't panic. But then, I felt hands grabbing me, not in the way a haunted house actor should. I immediately pushed the person off, shouting, "Get off me, dude!" Still thinking this was just part of the act, I waited, expecting the actor to lead me to the next section. But nothing happened. Enough time passed that I knew something wasn't right. I broke the rule about no phones, pulled mine out, and turned on the flashlight. I found myself in a storage room filled with props and janitorial supplies. But that's not what caught my attention. The tall man was still there, just 3 or 4 feet away, dressed in all black with a black face mask. I felt a chill, and as I looked for the exit, I said, "What are you doing, dude?" He didn't respond, just started moving his arms like he was mimicking a haunted character. I found the door and quickly left the room, using my phone light to navigate back. I soon encountered an actor who yelled at me to turn off my flashlight. I told him I'd been assaulted and needed to get out of there. The actor, looking unsure, dropped his act and told me to keep going and that I'd reach the exit soon. When I finally made it out, I found my friends waiting, confused about why I'd come out last. I told them everything, and we went to the ticket stand to ask for the manager. The worker informed us that the manager wasn't there but would return the next day. I reported the incident, and she assured me she'd alert the team. I also got my $30 ticket fee refunded. The next day, a girl from our college posted on Facebook that she'd been assaulted in that haunted house on the same night. I messaged her, and her experience mirrored mine, though the aggressor had been more physical with her. She ended up pressing charges, which ultimately led to the attraction's shutdown. Story 2: The Haunted House Hallucination. In Fort Worth, Texas, there's a popular haunted house that opens every October. This year, a few of my friends convinced me to go. I've had a troubled past that led me to develop PTSD, so I was hesitant. But I decided to give it a try. That night, my friend Noah hosted a pre-game with drinks and weed, thinking it would make the experience more fun. There were 6 of us, including 2 of the guys' girlfriends. I rarely smoked because weed made me paranoid, but that night I wanted to overcome my fear, so I joined in. I felt okay, actually. The combination of alcohol and weed seemed to balance things out. We took an Uber to the attraction, which was 20 minutes away. By the time we got there, I was pretty cross-faded but still aware of everything happening around me. Once we entered, the actors immediately started screaming and creating an intense atmosphere, which made me anxious. One actor singled me out, yelling in my face, sensing my discomfort. It was starting to get to me, and I could feel the panic building. Then we entered a room bathed in an eerie red glow, with a blooded man in a suit and top hat yelling at us. In the corner, though, stood a man with a familiar face, my father. I screamed, recognizing him immediately, as every hair on my body stood up. My friends, thinking I was kidding, laughed at first until they saw my reaction. One of the girls asked what was wrong, and I pointed to the corner, saying, "It's my dad." But when they looked, he was gone. My friends, knowing my troubled past, grew concerned. Noah escorted me outside, where I had a full-blown panic attack. I shared what happened, and he reminded me that it was probably the weed. Later that night, I went home, and after passing out, I woke up to a terrifying sight, my father standing over my bed, his face twisted and his body towering and contorted in impossible ways. I screamed, and my mom rushed in, turning on the lights. The apparition was gone, but it's a night I'll never forget. Story 3: The Damsel in Distress. During COVID, I decided to try working as an actor at a local haunted house. My friend Marissa already worked there and helped me get hired. I was assigned the role of a damsel in distress, tied to a post in the haunted corn maze, where I'd scream for help as guests walked by. Before the attraction opened, the supervisor, Jeremiah, walked me to my post and assured me there'd be another staff member nearby if I needed anything. The first guests eventually arrived, and I got into character, screaming for help as they walked by. Some played along, while others ignored me. But after some time, 2 men in their 30s walked past, one of them staring at me in a way that unsettled me. They disappeared into the maze, and for a while, there were no other guests. Suddenly, I heard rustling, and the same 2 men emerged from the crops. I told them to stay on the path, but one of them laughed, speaking in a foreign language as the other began touching me inappropriately. I screamed, breaking character and yelling for help. Moments later, a supervisor arrived, and the men ran off. I was untied and escorted out, calling my parents, who insisted I come home. On my drive, I noticed a white car following me. Panicking, I drove to the nearest police station. When I pulled into the parking lot, the car drove off. I never returned to that job.